Your body reacts to the choices you make daily, and the pattern of everyday ejaculation is one of those choices that quietly but powerfully influences your physical and emotional rhythm. Most people move through life unaware of how their small habits accumulate and shape their energy, mood, and clarity, but your body records every behavior like data that eventually becomes your reality. When you understand that your actions are not isolated events, but compounding signals to your system, you begin to see how deeply your habits either empower you or limit you. Daily ejaculation is not inherently right or wrong, but it is a habit with measurable effects that deserve your attention, because awareness gives you the ability to decide whether it aligns with your goals, your body responds with shifts in hormones, motivation, and mental sharpness, and noticing these changes is the first step in taking ownership of your personal development. The truth is, most people never pause to ask themselves why they do something every day, especially when it becomes automatic, but greatness requires questioning the patterns that run your life. When you start reflecting on your biological behaviors, not from fear but from curiosity, you unlock the power to guide your life with intention instead of impulse. This awareness transforms you from someone who merely reacts to urges into someone who directs their energy with purpose, and that shift alone elevates your identity. Choosing consciously rather than habitually creates a mental discipline that ripples into every other area of your life, enhancing confidence, productivity, and emotional balance. By understanding your body's reactions to daily ejaculation, you gain a clearer sense of how to manage your energy, protect your focus, and build a stronger version of yourself from the inside out. Your daily behaviors create the internal environment in which your mind operates, and ejaculation is one of those behaviors that interacts with your psychology more than most people realize. The body sends signals after every release. Signals of relaxation, depletion, satisfaction, relief, or lethargy, and tuning into these signals helps you identify whether the habit supports or hinders your long-term goals. In a world full of distractions, impulses, and constant stimulation, people often lose track of the connection between their desires and their direction. But self-awareness reconnects the two. When you explore why you engage in a certain habit every day, you begin to uncover emotional patterns hidden beneath the physical action, giving you insight into what you truly need. Maybe you seek stress relief, maybe you seek comfort, maybe it's boredom, maybe it's routine. But when you identify the root, you gain the power to reshape your behavior from a place of strength. This self-reflection does not mean suppressing your natural biology. It simply means observing it with wisdom so you can use your own nature to your advantage instead of letting it control you. Conscious decision-making turns your biology into a tool for growth rather than a cycle you fall into without thinking, and that change builds emotional and mental stability. When you develop awareness around your patterns, you start to see how your energy fluctuates, how your motivation changes, and how your clarity rises or falls, and these observations become your guide. The more you pay attention, the more empowered you become, because knowledge of self creates power that no external force can take away from you. Your body becomes a partner in your growth rather than an obstacle, responding to your decisions with balance, strength, and alignment as you gain control over habits that once felt automatic. Every great transformation begins with understanding, and understanding begins with paying attention to what your body is telling you through your everyday actions and reactions. Daily ejaculation becomes meaningful not because of the act itself, but because it reflects your relationship with discipline, desire, and direction, revealing where you are steering your life unconsciously. If you feel more drained, more unfocused, or more irritable afterward, your body is giving you feedback. If you feel relaxed, balanced, or mentally stable, that is also feedback, and both deserve honest reflection. Awareness gives you the power to adapt, adjust, and elevate, turning you into someone who does not simply follow impulses, but instead uses understanding as the foundation for intentional living. Your habits are the architecture of your character, sculpting who you become over months, years, and decades, and the habit of daily ejaculation is part of that structure, whether you acknowledge it or not. When you choose consciously, you stop letting external stimulation dictate your internal state, and you start choosing behaviors that align with the strength, clarity, and confidence you want to embody. This kind of awareness opens the door to self-respect because you recognize your energy as something valuable, something worth protecting, managing, and directing with intelligence. Your body thrives when you treat it as a system that responds to intention, not randomness. And the more intentional you become, the more powerful your sense of control and self-mastery grows. Understanding your biological patterns gives you the clarity to shape your actions with precision, and that precision becomes fuel for your mental, emotional, and personal growth. When you become conscious of what your body experiences every day, you become capable of aligning your habits with the greatest version of yourself, and that alignment is where true transformation begins. Control is not about denying your natural desires, but about understanding the power behind them and choosing how you want to channel that power in your life. Many people misunderstand control as suppression, imagining it as a battle against the body, but real control is a partnership where your mind leads and your biology follows. When you learn to guide your impulses instead of reacting to them, you develop a deeper level of strength that influences your confidence, your discipline, and your daily mindset. Ejaculation is a natural function, but when it becomes automatic or emotionally driven, it begins to influence your mental clarity in ways you may not even notice. The moment you choose to act from awareness rather than habit, you shift from being controlled by desire to commanding your own direction. This command gives you the ability to make choices based on purpose instead of impulse, and that difference is what separates growth from stagnation. Self-control isn't a punishment. It's a skill that sharpens your mind and builds a foundation of inner stability that supports every part of your life. When you practice choosing instead of reacting, you develop emotional intelligence that strengthens your relationships, your productivity, and your resilience. Your biology doesn't need to be feared or suppressed. It needs to be understood, so you can decide when a release serves you and when it steals from your focus. Control becomes empowerment when it is rooted in awareness, giving you the strength to align your actions with who you want to become rather than what you feel in the moment. The ability to manage desire is one of the strongest forms of discipline because it forces you to confront your thoughts, your patterns, and your emotional triggers. Daily ejaculation may feel harmless, but when you challenge yourself to control the frequency, you begin to see how often your actions were driven by stress, boredom, or routine rather than intention. This realization helps you understand yourself on a deeper level, revealing the emotional gaps that you have been filling with physical habits. When you break automatic cycles, you build mental space to choose actions that elevate you instead of falling into behaviors that temporarily distract you. True strength arises when you are capable of experiencing desire without letting it dictate your next move, because that is when your identity becomes stronger than your impulses. This kind of control builds a calm confidence that others can feel. Because people respect those who lead themselves with discipline and clarity, you begin to trust yourself more because you know that your decisions come from purpose, not pressure, and this self-trust becomes fuel for long-term growth. The relationship you have with your desires influences the relationship you have with your goals because the same discipline that controls the body strengthens the mind. When you guide your impulses instead of obeying them, every part of your life begins to align with a higher standard of intention and self-respect. You discover that control is not a battle to be won, but a lifestyle to be built, one decision at a time, rooted in awareness and inner strength. Mastery over desire teaches you that self-control is not about restriction, but about reclaiming the energy that would otherwise be lost to automatic behaviors. Many people don't realize how much mental strength they give away simply because they act without reflection. But when you choose to lead yourself, your life begins to shift. Ejaculation becomes a conscious decision instead of a reaction, and that alone transforms your relationship with your body into one of respect and balance. This choice shows you the power of intentional living, where every action has meaning and every habit serves a purpose that pushes you toward your goals. When you control your impulses, you create mental clarity that elevates your ability to think, plan, create, and focus because your mind is no longer ruled by momentary urges. You start to realize that real freedom comes from the ability to choose, not from doing whatever you feel in the moment. And this understanding strengthens your identity. The discipline you build in managing desire extends into other areas of your life, influencing your work ethic, your emotional stability, and your long-term achievements. Your body becomes a source of power rather than distraction when you lead it with intention, allowing you to rise above old habits that once held you back. Control becomes a form of self-love because you are choosing actions that support your future instead of surrendering to temporary impulses. When you learn to command your desires, you unlock a level of strength that becomes the foundation for the disciplined, focused, and elevated version of yourself. Every action you take carries an energy cost or an energy gain, and daily ejaculation is one of those actions that can subtly influence how much mental and physical strength you bring into your day. Your body releases chemicals that shift your mood, motivation, and focus, and paying attention to how you feel afterward reveals whether the habit supports your goals or drains them. Some people notice a calm sense of relief while others feel slowed down or mentally scattered. And these reactions are signals your body uses to communicate what truly works for you. When you begin evaluating the purpose behind your habits rather than simply repeating them, you start to act from intention instead of routine. Life becomes clearer when you align your energy with actions that uplift you rather than weaken your drive or scatter your attention. Each release comes with an effect that's either moving you closer to your goals or subtly pulling you away, and understanding this helps you take control of your personal rhythm. The key is not to judge the habit, but to observe the impact it has on your energy, because that awareness gives you the power to make adjustments that support your long-term growth. You become more present in your decisions when you reflect on whether your choices are feeding your strength or feeding your stress. Once you connect your daily behaviors to the outcome of your day, you start to naturally choose actions that build your best self. Your energy becomes a resource that you protect, respect, and use wisely as you move closer to the disciplined version of yourself you are trying to build. Energy is the currency of success, and every time you engage in a habit like daily ejaculation, you're spending a portion of that currency. So it matters whether the investment is worth it. If the habit leaves you calm, focused, and stable, then the energy spent is balanced by clarity gained. But if it leaves you tired or unmotivated, then you're paying a cost you might not realize. Understanding what your body is telling you helps you set standards for yourself that align with your ambitions, because you begin valuing actions that strengthen you instead of weakening your momentum. Most people never question whether their patterns support their dreams, yet the difference between progress and stagnation often lies in how they manage small daily choices. When you choose habits intentionally, you take charge of where your energy flows, and that shift transforms your productivity and emotional balance. Your mind becomes sharper when you stop wasting energy on behaviors that drain you, and this clarity empowers you to focus with deeper intensity and purpose. Energy management becomes a form of self-respect because you are no longer allowing your impulses to decide how your day unfolds. As you become more aware of the energy impact behind your habits, you begin to act with a level of precision that improves your mood, your discipline, and your inner strength. This awareness trains you to recognize which behaviors elevate your confidence and which ones diminish your potential, giving you full control over your growth. The more aligned your actions become with your energy needs, the more consistently you perform at your highest level in every part of your life. Your greatest potential emerges when you become honest about the habits that help you and the ones that hold you back, and daily ejaculation becomes meaningful only when you evaluate it through this lens. If the habit supports your emotional balance, reduces stress, and enhances your clarity, then it may be serving a constructive purpose in your routine. But if it leaves you feeling unmotivated, distracted, or emotionally off-center, then it's revealing that your energy is being spent in ways that don't match your goals. Honesty with yourself is one of the most powerful tools for growth because it removes excuses and forces you to confront the truth of how your patterns shape your performance. When you start listening to your body with honesty, you begin making choices that align with your highest ambitions instead of your momentary feelings. Your energy becomes something you guard carefully, not something you waste unconsciously, and this shift elevates your sense of discipline and control. Every decision you make regarding your body becomes part of your identity, and choosing actions that protect your focus strengthens your confidence and resilience. As you align your habits with your purpose, you begin to feel more grounded, more intentional, and more in tune with the version of yourself you want to become. This alignment creates momentum that shows up in your work, your relationships, your mindset, and your overall sense of direction. When you treat your energy as something valuable and powerful, you naturally build a life where your habits fuel your growth instead of compromising your potential. Growth begins the moment you decide to be completely honest with yourself, and daily ejaculation becomes meaningful only when you examine it with that same honesty. Your patterns reveal more about your mindset than you realize, especially when they become automatic and unchallenged in your daily routine. When you pay attention to how your habits affect your mood, your clarity, and your energy, you uncover truths that help you understand yourself on a deeper level. Honesty forces you to confront not just what you do, but why you do it, and that awareness is the key to transforming your behaviors with intention. Many people avoid this level of self-reflection because it requires courage, but facing your habits head-on is what builds real inner strength. Your triggers, your impulses, and your emotional patterns all speak to you, and listening to them gives you the power to change what no longer serves you. The more honest you become, the more control you gain over your decisions because you stop letting unconscious behavior shape your identity. Self-honesty opens the door to self-mastery, allowing you to understand the connection between your actions and the person you're becoming. This kind of reflection strengthens your discipline because it makes you aware of the effects your choices have on your long-term goals. Once you start telling yourself the truth, you begin to design your life from a place of clarity rather than convenience or comfort. Being honest with yourself means acknowledging the patterns you rely on for comfort, escape, or routine, and daily ejaculation can be one of those patterns without you realizing it. Every time you reflect on why you act the way you do, you uncover emotional habits that were previously hidden beneath physical behavior. Maybe it's stress, maybe it's boredom, maybe it's emotional overwhelm. Whatever the reason, honesty reveals the real cause instead of allowing the habit to mask it. Understanding your emotional triggers gives you the power to break cycles that once felt unchangeable because you finally see the truth behind them. Self-honesty is not about judgment. It's about clarity because clarity is what allows you to shift from reaction to intention. When you understand your emotional needs, you can respond to them in healthier, stronger ways instead of relying on a habit that might not support your growth. This level of honesty builds resilience because you no longer run from your emotions. You face them, learn from them, and make choices that reflect your highest self. Every time you choose honesty, you become more aligned with your goals because your decisions are guided by truth rather than impulse. This alignment creates a sense of mental freedom that gives you the power to live with purpose instead of simply repeating patterns without understanding them. The more honest you are about your triggers and habits, the more control you gain over the direction of your life. Your potential expands when you take responsibility for your actions, your energy, and your mental state. And that responsibility starts with honesty. When you admit which habits strengthen you and which ones weaken you, you gain the ability to choose behaviors that support your personal evolution. This honest reflection builds confidence because you know you're shaping your life based on truth, not on excuses or autopilot decisions. You stop pretending that your habits don't matter and start recognizing the role they play in your discipline, your focus, and your overall emotional balance. Honesty becomes a mirror that reflects the gap between who you are and who you want to become, giving you the clarity to close that gap step by step. Your decisions become more intentional as you understand your patterns, and this intentionality becomes the driving force behind your personal transformation. The strongest version of you is built on truth. Truth about your actions, your routines, your desires, and the direction of your life. When you take ownership of your habits, you build a sense of self-respect that fuels discipline and empowers you to rise above old behaviors. Your growth becomes inevitable once your choices reflect honesty instead of habit, because honesty aligns your daily actions with your highest potential. As you embrace this truth-driven mindset, you become someone who leads their life with purpose, clarity, and unwavering self-awareness.